Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for a link to my Amazon store where I've compiled some of the very best items available, including some of my own personal recommendations. Thanks!
What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to do with you guys. This is the new Benchmade Mini Bugout, or Bugout Mini, whatever you want to say there. This knife is not in a stock configuration. The scales were dyed purple. Though looking at it, I think it's actually something that Benchmade should offer because he did a great job of it. It really looks great. This knife was sent by Mr. Lavender Pants 86, which possibly is why it's dyed purple. I don't know. My wife says lavender is different than purple. I think it's purple. In any case, you should follow Lavender Pants 86. It's because of people like him that I'm able to bring you guys daily knife content. Speaking of that, if you are a patron right now, thank you so much for supporting me. It just means the world to me that you're doing that in a time like this, you know, with the world and, you know, the craziness and everything going on. So thank you so much. If you'd like to check out my Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Let's go ahead and get a measurement on this guy. The overall length, and by the way, there's going to be links down in the description for the mini Bugout if you guys want to check it out. Overall length coming in at 6.5 inches. Blade length coming in at under 3 inches. Rejoice. People who live in odd areas that restrict blade length like that. And then cutting edge is just shy of 2.75 by 2.65, something like that. Let's do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. Rat 1 coming in at 8.6 inches overall. You can see there it is absolutely a mini knife. Up against the Spyderco PM2. PM2 coming in at 8.3 inches overall. How about up against the Benchmade Reptilian, or in this case the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue coming in at 8 inches overall. And last but not least, the Spyderco Para 3, the closest size comparison I've got. Spyderco Para 3 coming in at 7.25 inches overall. How's the action on this guy? Feels like every other Benchmade I've ever handled. Benchmade is definitely, you know, if this is indicative, like the last few Benchmades I've held that were brand new or very new models have all had excellent action. I've definitely picked up some older Benchmade axis locks that are grindy or have little issues here or there. I think that Benchmade has been kind of shadow fixing some of their quality issues over time, and I'm under the impression after handling quite a few here recently that don't fear newer Benchmade models or newer, you know, newer variants of older models. I think unless you're picking up a Benchmade that's been sitting in a shop for quite some time or on a shelf somewhere for quite some time, I think you're going to be okay. I can easily whip this knife into place and deploy it. It's, you know, not quite a drop well, actually, boy, it actually is. I actually hadn't done that yet. So yeah, there you go. It's great. Let's go ahead and do the hardware check because I always seem to skip that. Get out my handy dandy WIA bit selector and WIA magnetic driver, 2 items that are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them down in the Amazon store that I reference at the beginning of every single video, listed under knife maintenance. I know for a fact that we're looking at T6 body screws on this guy. That's Benchmade loves those. T6. So Benchmade knives are that's the root of the issue, the origin story of my hatred for T6. My first Benchmade Reptilian I bought because I wanted to customize it so badly. I knew from the moment that I picked up that original Reptilian that I hated FRN. Loved the knife, hated FRN. If you didn't know that about me, I hate FRN. I don't necessarily, you know, disagree with the, you know, the level of durability for how much it weighs. I get that. I just hate how freaking cheap it feels. I hate it. So naturally, I, you know, sought to take it apart. And I ruined my first one. It took forever to get the screws out. I had to break the scales off. Some people have heard this story. And then, you know, in the future, I actually owned 3 or 4 different Reptilians that I took apart and customized. And despite me knowing a little bit more about what to expect, I still had some issues with T6. So that's why I hate T6 screws. I'm really coming down. For whatever reason, I'm choosing this to come down on this knife. But either they use less Loctite or they don't use any Loctite maybe on the body screws. I think they just use less than they used to. As long as you're careful, it's okay. T6 is never a deal breaker. It's just something that really bothers me if you want to take it apart to clean it or customize it or whatever. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. Let's go ahead and talk about carry profile. Holy moly, is this a carry profile champion? This knife is thin. This knife is small. It is also lightweight, as you could imagine. We'll talk about that here in a sec. up against the Spyderco PM2 and Para 3.2 knives that have awkward carry profiles and nobody ever seems to complain about. You can see there, it wins. This knife is easier to carry for a multitude of reasons. Mainly, it's just a lot smaller. It's also not tall and it's thin. So yeah, super easy to carry. Let's go ahead and take a look at the weight. So the inside of these Bugouts, for anybody who doesn't know, I've got to start putting that flashlight in a better place. It's completely, other than a small cartridge liner made of metal, it's completely hollowed out FRN, which really adds to the cheap feeling of the Bugout, which is the issue that I had with the large Bugout. I'm just going to let you guys know, I've reviewed the large Bugout. It wasn't for me. I didn't like how cheap it felt, but I can completely understand why so many people liked it, so it still ended up being a recommendable knife, and I know firsthand how durable FRN is. It's actually just as hard to break as G10. I have a video where I broke both G10 and FRN scales with my bare hands, and they honestly, yeah, FRN's very durable. So no issues there. The blade comes in at 1.52 ounces. That's nothing. Nobody should ever complain about that for any reason. Unless you're like me and you just don't like the cheap feeling of FRN. But yeah, in terms of weight and how easy or not easy this is, yeah, it's not even, you know, it's nothing. This blade is super thin. And you know, you can make an argument for durability, but anybody chopping down trees with your Bugout? You shouldn't be. I think people know what this knife was built for and what it's made for, and that's general light duty EDC. If you're hiking or camping or you just require a short, lightweight blade, you're going to a wedding, you're going to a cocktail party, you're going to a little kid's birthday party, you know, pretty much anywhere. This knife is not really inappropriate anywhere except for places that outlaw knives that lock, which is still a thing in some areas of the world, or pocket knives in general in some places. But for everybody else, yeah, this is one of those knives that's pretty much appropriate all over the place. Or I guess also one-handed opening mechanisms, right? There's some places that's like you have to use two hands. Anyways, yeah, ultra lightweight, carry profile on this thing is perfection. Now, here's the funny thing. Because of the situation in the world and because of my situation locally, I am actually at home, which means I am wearing, like right now, I'm wearing the typical gym pants, right? Lightweight, thin material that I always talk about. So I have actually been carrying more knives like this. I'm going to do a video on this at some point, or perhaps I already did it. These are all pre-recorded. But yeah, I've explored a little bit with different carry options depending on, you know, the fact that I've had to adapt to my current situation. And I gotta say, this knife has been an absolute joy to carry around the house with me. It works no matter what I'm wearing. I am wearing more athletic shorts, more you know, sweatpants and light pant material around the house. And I don't need a big knife clanging around in my pocket. I don't need a big knife in general around the house. And I really, really enjoy this. On top of that, the pocket clip is one that's really going to work well no matter what you're wearing. Unless you're wearing super thick, heavy-duty outdoor work pants, which this isn't really the knife I would expect it to. I mean, if you want to carry it for that, it's fine, right? You might have other tools at your disposal where you wouldn't ask any more of your knife than a simple cutting task, but it'll actually work in those pants too. So the biggest joy for me, the funniest thing about this knife is appreciating the carry profile and weight and all that. It's, you know, I normally carry heavier, larger knives, but I found myself in a circumstance where I absolutely can truly appreciate this knife. So, I mean, honestly, more than the larger Bugout, you know, at least in terms of the, you know, what it's made out of in the carry profile. So I am actually happy with that. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on. The anatomy of this knife, like I said, it's FRN, and we didn't even do the, pivot. I wonder if the pivot's still T10. I never checked beforehand because I like to be pleasantly surprised, right? So we've got a T10. Yeah, that's a T10. Okay, so the pivot's a T10. That's great. If you need to make adjustments or take it apart, you don't have to worry about the pivot stripping out unless you're using the wrong tool. But yeah, so that's great. Anyways, it's, you know, much the same as the original Bugout. The everything's nicely knocked down. There's no sharp edges on the handle or anything like that. Handle looks great. It's got that diamond texturing, which actually provides a little bit of traction, but isn't enough to really fray up your pants or whatever it is you're wearing. So no big deal there. Thumb studs are in an excellent position. They're very easy to engage and disengage, and I think Yeah, I can even do the reverse flick on this guy. Despite it being small, you can effectively deploy it. It's really easy to use, honestly. Blade shape is a simple drop point blade with a flat carrying out about 55% or so. The length, it's got lots of room to drop down to a super, super thin cutting edge. This is what I would call a delicate tip, so delicate that my camera's having trouble focusing in on it. Do not stick that tip into something and attempt to pry. It doesn't matter what it's made out of. It will likely break if you put even, not, I wouldn't even say a lot of force. Don't stick that thing into wood and start prying. I mean, this is S30V. This knife is made in the USA, by the way. This is S30V, which is a great blade steel. It's perfectly suited for a knife like this, a knife that's meant to do, regular cutting tasks, cutting straps, boxes, some rope, some cardboard, whatever, tape. It's great, and it's going to hold the edge for a long time, and it's going to be relatively easy to sharpen compared to other knife steels in the same caliber. The tip is definitely beneficial in terms of puncture tasks, so you're going to be able to do that just fine. It's not a super long blade, so if you need to chop a pineapple in half, probably not the knife you're going to use for that, but, just pick your battles. This knife comes in a wide variety of different colors and blade. Well, actually, it comes with a satin blade, and then this, is it Cerakoted? I think it's Cerakoted. Could be wrong about that, but wide variety of different flavors. There's an orange one, there's a white one. They don't come in purple. I imagine they will come out with a wide variety of different ones. Let me take an opportunity to say this. Benchmade, for God's sakes, put this knife and the big Bugout in the Benchmade custom shop, please. I mean, there's an issue with pricing, and we'll get to that. And the custom shop adds another layer of controversial pricing. But, oh my gosh, if any knife in your lineup was begging to be customized, it's these Bugouts. Why am I saying that? Because I finally broke down and bought myself a Bugout and immediately took the scales off and put my own scales on. I put Flytanium scales on there, which isn't likely something that Benchmade will ever add to their custom shop for any knife. But they've got the Griptilian in there, and they've got the Crooked River in there, and they've got the Barrage. But the Griptilian and the Crooked River makes sense to me. The Bugout needs to be in there. Maybe they've already got plans to do it, and maybe they're like, yeah, we hear you, but if you don't, and for whatever reason you stumbled upon this review of your knife, please, everybody probably wants that. And if not everybody else, just do it for me, because I another Bugout. If I could customize everything, I could change the scales to G10, and I had blade steel options and all these that would be super cool. I would pay extra for it, I guess. So yeah, let's do that. Anyways, moving back down to the, minimal billboarding on here. It's typical Benchmade, says S30V and has the Benchmade butterfly. The blade's great. No sharp edges or anything like that. It's done really well. We don't have wonky edge grinds. It looks like the edge is very consistent all the way down, which is nice. And there's a little bit of that Benchmade toothiness. I think some of you know what I'm talking about, but that's fine. Sometimes a toothy edge does work a little bit better, and I've read that that's actually intentional. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it does carve through things a little better than a glassy edge. So anyways, we have options for left-handed carry, which is very purposeful considering this is an axis lock and truly ambidextrous, so lefties rejoice. We have a lanyard hole, loop, whatever that's there and it's not really in the way. That's fine. We have what many consider to be Benchmade's very best clip of all time. It is super minimal, absolutely deep carry, and it will absolutely make sure that this already super short knife will stay fixed on your person. I think this little clip is actually modular with most other 3-hole Benchmades. I could be wrong about that, but I think that is the case. And then the other side is much the same as the front, except you have the non-show side pivot. To my knowledge, the inside of this is D-shaped, which means the pivot is not free spinning. This knife has been carried and used and customized, and it still went back together perfectly. We do not, we have no blade play. Ooh, that's nice. Good job. That's nice on such a thin, kind of frail feeling little Benchmade. But again, there's benefits to that, as I have recently discovered. So again, let's go over the things that I don't like about this knife. It's got T6 hardware. It's kind of got a delicate tip, but I can understand that. I hate FRN. I hate how FRN feels. Hate it. This knife, even understanding the benefits of FRN, and especially in my current situation, I still would pay more money to just have G10 on this knife. If they offered a standard Benchmade version, oh, my voice cracked. What's going on? I've had a cold. I'm not going through puberty. I've had a cold. No, there's nothing wrong with me. It's just a head cold. but it's been bothering me for a little bit. But anyways, if Benchmade offered an upgraded version of this knife that cost a little more and had G10 and 20 CV would actually work really great on this knife, kind of like what you guys did with the Griptilian, that would be great. Or put it in the custom shop or do both. I hate FRN so much, but that being said, there's just really not a lot wrong with this knife. There's not enough wrong with the knife itself or the design for me to really complain about it, because most of what I'm complaining about is just preference. Here's what I don't like. This is not common for me on this channel. I'm gonna actually say that there's something that really upsets me about this knife. The price. Listen, it's common to hear the complaint about price with Benchmades. Now, a lot of the time, I can look at a Benchmade. I'll use one of my favorite, actually my favorite Benchmade of all time is the Super Freak. This is a $190 knife, layered G10 with that red layer underneath, the red barrel spacers, fantastic design, M4 blade, wonderful, 190 bucks. Considering I get the Benchmade warranty with that thing, right? All the materials, the look of it, the blade steel, the execution of it is fantastic, and Benchmade's excellent warranty. If you didn't know, Benchmade has one of the very best, if not the best knife warranties out there. It's really good. Most of the time I can go, okay, some of the extra money that I'm spending is for, you know, the extra fortitude and security that I feel from the warranty, so I can understand it. That being said, this is overpriced, undeniably. This $135 to $140, what? Why is the Mini Griptilian $90? How is it that the Benchmade Mini Griptilian that is made out of the exact same materials, even the large Griptilian, is at or under $100 right now? What world does this come in at $135 to $140? This should be $100 absolute maximum. Absolute maximum. And the large Bugout should be 110 across the board. I'm sorry, it makes no sense that this knife is this much money. That's my biggest issue with it. However, me personally, I have definitely bought knives that I just wanted and that ended up being fantastic knives, even though I knew good and well that they were overpriced. This knife isn't double what it should be. There are knives out there that are so overpriced that I'm like, I don't care how good it is, I'm not paying that much money for that knife. You know, considering everything I just said, this knife is roughly 30 to 35%. Well, it's exactly 35% more than I think it should be at maximum. And that 35% in a knife that costs $1,000 would be, if my math is correct and I'm not a complete idiot, $350, which is a lot of money when it's isolated into that $350 group. However, or that $350 mark. However, the extra price I'm talking about is about $35. This is about $35 over what I think it should be. And considering the experience I've had with it, and also if Benchmade doesn't do it, the aftermarket will do it. The massive, Flytanium, I guarantee, is already working on stuff for this, and a bunch of other aftermarket part makers are already making scales and a bunch of, stuff hanging off the end of it, whatever. Yeah, this is bound to be a ridiculously popular knife. And it's almost one of those knives where it's like, you in the Bugout club? Are you cool? Are you a real knife guy? Are you a real minimalist, considering all the ratios? Are you getting the maximum amount of utility out of your knife for how much it weighs on your person, right? If you're one of those people, then that's kind of a club, right? Trying to keep my mind off of that and just focus on my own personal experience. This is a great knife. It is a great knife. For me, around the house, and if you're somebody who uses your knife a little bit for regular stuff, and you carry other stuff in your pockets, you got a bunch of stuff, and you just want to have a cutting tool on you, but you don't want your day to be about your knife. You just want it to be there when you need it, and other than that, you don't really want to think about it, except when you take your pants off and you put them in the washing machine. Don't wash your knife. I've done that before. This is a good knife. So I'm a little conflicted. This knife is overpriced, but I can still recommend it. And I know that that's probably stings a little bit in your ear holes. So you're like, what? Ugh, can we even try this? He doesn't like the Bugout for the most part, and he thinks it's overpriced, but he's still going to recommend it to us. Who is this guy? Yeah, I'm aware of what I'm saying, and I'm aware of the contradiction, but it is a pretty good knife. But for God's sakes, Benchmade, do two things for me. Lower the price and put this thing on a custom shop. please. I just, it's frustrating. If you're, if you're somebody who, is not seeing the value already just from this review, don't buy it. Just don't, I mean, I got to be fair and honest. If you're somebody who likes the larger Bugout and you think, I'd kind of like even a smaller one for around the house or whatever, and I've already spent the money on a lot of other knives that are in similar kind of situations where it's a little bit overpriced, but I still really enjoyed it, right? Then you probably will enjoy this too. It is, what most people, I feel like the line of expensive and inexpensive is right about at 75 bucks. Most people consider under 75 or under 50 to be inexpensive. Most people consider, like definitely over 100 to be on the more expensive side of knives. This is an expensive knife, right? If you're going to spend 100, most people are okay with spending 135, but it still kind of hurts that it's 35% over what I think a lot of people would, like to see this knife at. It's the bar I'm using for that. Sorry, the video cut out on me there, but anyways, the bar that I'm using for the argument on where the pricing should be is the mini griptilian. If the mini griptilian can be 90, 95 bucks, whatever it is right now, this guy should be too. It just doesn't make sense to me. But in any case, still a pretty recommendable knife, and I've had a good experience with it. Anyways, thanks again to @LavenderPants86 on Instagram for sending this guy along. Please give him a follow. If you guys enjoyed this video or at least found it entertaining, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do of course have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out, and if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on this Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.